Chapter 1. After my rebirth, I tore up the application to defer my studies. I had no intention of becoming a house husband for Victoria Bellwether. When she heard the news, she called me. I immediately blocked her number. She came to my house and waited for me, so I moved out overnight. Later, she compromised, allowing me to go study in New York with her, so it would be convenient for me to take care of her. Instead, I secretly applied to the Southern State Teachers College. In my past life, she loved her country and its people, everyone but me. In this life, I just want to ensure we never cross paths again. Later, I went to the Northwest to volunteer as a teacher. When she saw me there, working as a volunteer doctor, her eyes turned red. She grabbed my hand and refused to let go. Sincere, don't run away again this time. Just as the teacher was about to sign his name, I snatched the application form and ripped it to shreds. A flash of annoyance crossed my homeroom teacher's face. Do you think I have nothing better to do? You're a top student, yet you insisted on deferring your studies. I spent a month getting this approved for you, and now you suddenly tear it up? What's this all about? I lowered my head and apologized sincerely. I'm sorry, sir. I'm not deferring. I'm going to study hard and apply for a teaching degree. The commotion was not small, and it quickly drew the attention of all the other teachers in the office. You finally come to your senses? Oh, that's wonderful. I might finally have a chance at that end-of-term bonus. The one who spoke was my math teacher. In our senior year, I was always first in the class in math, and my teacher reaped the benefits with a bonus. Other teachers chimed in as well. That's right, what a promising student. The whole school knew you were planning to drop out to become Victoria Bellwether's house husband. It had us all worried. All the teachers here had been good to me. My consistent top rankings were largely due to their guidance. This month-long drama had been a spectacle for everyone. After all, Victoria Bellwether was smart and beautiful, generous and well-liked, the school goddess for many boys. But she had always been somewhat cold to me. If it weren't for our childhood engagement, I'd have hardly had a chance to get close to her. Thankfully, I was reborn at this very moment. I walked over to the teachers and gave them a 90-degree bow. I was immature before, but I've thought things through now. I hope you can all forgive my past behavior. Their eyes filled with relief. They nodded, saying I was welcome to ask them for help with my studies any time. When I returned to my seat in the classroom, all eyes were on me. Even Victoria, for a change, was waiting for me by my desk. Her health had been poor for years, her skin always a sickly pale. She was frail, and when she sat there with her hair in a ponytail, she looked particularly sweet and innocent. Even for someone who had lived a whole life before, seeing her like this, my heart couldn't help but soften. When she saw me approach, she started putting my books into my school bag for me. I placed my hand over hers, feigning regret. The application didn't go through. You should head back first. The color drained from Victoria's face. How is that possible? Are you still angry that I had breakfast with Ethan Westwood this morning? I told you, we just happened to run into each other. Plus, we're both class officers, so we inevitably have things to discuss. My deskmate, overhearing this, couldn't help but tease. Hey, don't flaunt your romance in front of me. And Sincere, don't be an ungrateful fool. Victoria has lowered herself to appease you. Just agree and get going. I remained calm. No, it's true. I took the school bag back from Victoria's hands and looked at her. You should go back. I need to focus on my studies. Victoria's eyes began to redden. Fine. With a sharp screech of her chair, she stood up abruptly and stormed back to her own seat. A moment later, a book hit me hard on the head. A girl's voice spoke up indignantly for Victoria. Sincere Clark, don't you go too far. I rubbed my head, pretending it was nothing, and lowered my head to continue solving a problem. There were less than 30 days until the final exams anyway. Once the exams were over, she and I would have nothing to do with each other. Chapter 2. After school, Victoria got on the back of Ethan Westwood's bicycle right in front of me. I paid them no mind, simply riding my own bike slowly behind them. A certain distance was maintained between the three of us. She and I were supposed to be childhood sweethearts. Both our families had come from a small town to make their way in the city. Back when our families were on good terms, they had arranged our engagement in the presence of both clans. But as we grew up, the relationship between our two families became increasingly strained. It had now been 13 years since we became next-door neighbors. I could feel that Victoria's parents didn't like me either. On the surface, they were polite, but in reality, they had long been taking Victoria to various banquets to meet the sons of influential families. Ethan was the one they were most satisfied with. I was completely oblivious, even willing to break with my own family to dedicate myself to caring for Victoria. Thus, when she and Ethan started getting close, the Bellwethers actively encouraged it, completely disregarding me. In my last life, Ethan even had the goal to try and steal Victoria away at our wedding. Mr. and Mrs. Bellwether stopped me in front of all the guests. Ethan Westwood is a lead researcher for a major government project. What do you have to compare with that? You who only knows how to cook and clean. Our family has put up with you for so many years, you should be content. Just stay home and raise the children. My own parents were thoroughly exasperated by my behavior. Look at the pathetic state you're in. Who would want you? We told you to study hard, but you wouldn't listen. You deserve this mess because I was so dependent on the Bellwethers, I tearfully agreed, hoping Victoria would one day turn around and see my sacrifices. After more than a decade of the same routine, Victoria, we don't want a fool in this house. My family had tried for a long time to talk me out of becoming a house husband for the Bellwethers. I pressed my lips together and said solemnly, Mom, I've decided to apply to teachers' college. My mother stared at me for a long time. When she was sure I was serious, her face broke into a wide smile. Laughing, she pulled me inside while loudly sharing the good news with my father. For the first time in a long time, our family had a dinner filled with laughter and joy. Looking at my parents before me, I swallowed hard, forcing back the tears as I ate. I failed to be a good son to them in my last life. This time, I would not make the same mistake. Chapter 3. In the middle of the night, I received a message from Victoria. You tore up the application? She quickly sent another message, a screenshot of a text from her physics teacher. Victoria was better at physics than I was, so the teacher had asked her to help me out and had mentioned the incident to her. I replied quickly, Yes, I've thought it through. My parents are right. I should focus on getting into college first. Victoria didn't understand. She replied righteously, Neither of our families is short on money. Why are you working so hard? If you're studying hard too, then who's going to take care of me? Then ask Ethan. I typed and deleted the words in the chat box several times, but couldn't bring myself to send them. Ethan didn't understand Victoria. She had a delicate constitution from birth and needed to be cared for meticulously to stay healthy. The Bellwethers were too busy with their affairs and unwilling to hire help, which is what gave me the idea of becoming her full-time caregiver. Since she already knew it was best to make a clean break, I replied directly, We should break up. Then I blocked her. Half an hour later, my doorbell rang frantically, accompanied by the sound of Victoria coughing. Sincere Clark, open this door. I pulled the covers over my head, pretending not to hear. In the end, my parents heard the bell and rushed to open the door. Victoria's voice grew louder. Where is Sincere? She must have been furious with me. Her voice was much louder than usual. As she spoke, her footsteps drew closer. I heard my mother intercept her, whispering something I couldn't make out. After a while, Victoria finally left. A little later, my mom knocked on my bedroom door. She asked gently, My dear boy, since you've broken things off with her, we were thinking of moving forward with a plan to move that we've been considering for a while. I shot up in bed and nodded eagerly. That would be perfect. The next day, my parents requested a leave of absence from school for me. When Victoria couldn't find me waiting at my door, she went to school alone. A few days later, I returned to school. When I saw Victoria again, she seemed even paler. Even on a warm 79-degree day, she was still wearing her school uniform jacket. She looked displeased, blocking my path back to my seat. You blocked my number. You moved. Do you want to get out of marrying me that badly? The prying eyes of those around us turned in our direction. Victoria seemed to realize she had been too impulsive and pulled me by the hand toward the exit. "Let's talk outside." Once we reached an empty spot, I shook her hand off. "Whatever you have to say it quickly. Don't waste my study time." She pulled a slightly cool breakfast from her pocket and handed it to me. This was her usual way of placating people in the past. A single beckoning gesture from her would have been enough for me to eagerly make amends myself, all because I loved her. Whatever she did was beautiful in my eyes, but after the pain of my past life, most of my feelings for her had vanished. "I didn't take the breakfast. I've already eaten. You should save this for someone who wants it." Victoria looked surprised, then frowned at me. "What has gotten into you lately? I've been perfectly clear about Ethan and me. We've only gone out a few times under our parents' supervision. Are you really going to hold a grudge over that? Besides, we've never even been alone together." I raised an eyebrow, a little surprised. So, they weren't just close in front of me. They had been going out privately as well. So what if they hadn't been alone together those few times? Everyone had the same idea. Based on the timeline of my past life, Ethan would get into the university across from hers. They would end up entangled one way or another. Remembering how I died in my last life, I sighed. I didn't want to live like that again. Seeing my silence, Victoria seemed to compromise, though her tone was still condescending. "Fine, I'll allow you to go to college. You'll come to New York with me. That way it'll be easier for you to take care of me." It sounded so much like a handout. She continued, "Ethan and I are only together for business reasons. In the end, the person I'll marry is still you. As a man, you shouldn't be so jealous. Be more open-minded." She was about to say more, but I cut her off. "I get it." I finally looked up, staring directly into her eyes, afraid she would see that I was lying. "When it's time to choose our colleges, I'll apply to schools in New York." Hearing this, Victoria finally breathed a sigh of relief. "See, wasn't that simple? You made me go through all this trouble." The morning wind was a bit strong, and it sent Victoria into another fit of violent coughing. She stood there quietly, waiting for my next move. I expertly shielded her from the wind, my hand rubbing her back to help her catch her breath. Her complexion returned to normal, a hint of smugness in her expression. I resisted the urge to walk away, and instead accompanied her slowly back to the classroom. Back at my desk, I began to study intensely. My current scores were still a little short of what I needed for Southern State Teachers College. But as long as I got in, she and I would be at opposite ends of the country, one in the north, one in the south. We would never have to see each other again in this lifetime. Chapter 4. After school, Ethan came to pick up Victoria again. Victoria had been called to a teacher's office and hadn't left yet. When Ethan saw me, he deliberately blocked my path. "I hear you're not going to be a full-time house husband anymore. You're going to college with Vic?" I stopped and asked him, "Is there something you need?" Ethan sneered. "I'm telling you, don't be a fool. Your family's prospects are falling further and further behind hers. And didn't you just move to a more remote area a few days ago? Wouldn't it be better to just focus on taking care of her?" I didn't quite understand him. He continued, "I can't take care of her. Without you looking after her, she's so delicate. How are we supposed to have any fun together? I've got it all figured out. When she and I get married, I'll allow you to be her companion and take care of her. How about that?" Ethan's smile was a taunt. I ignored him, my voice calm. "Do as you wish, but I'd advise you to learn how to care for her yourself. I won't be in contact with her anymore." Ethan's expression was one of surprise, mixed with a hint of excitement. "Are you serious?" I narrowed my eyes at him. So, all of this was just to provoke me, to force me away. "As you wish," I said again. A passing classmate couldn't seem to stand it any longer and spoke up for me. "I mean, can you have some shame? The whole school knows they're a couple, and will be in the future. Your provocations now won't change the fact that they have an arranged childhood engagement sincere. If you can't win with words, then fight back." Ethan looked the classmate up and down, his face turning red with anger. "What's it to you? Victoria and I are the ones who are meant to be. I'm here today to pick her up to discuss our engagement. What childhood engagement? That's a relic of the old days this time around. Things were moving faster between them. Or perhaps it had been like this in my past life, too. While I was foolishly believing Victoria loved me, she was already secretly getting engaged to Ethan. The classmate was about to say more, but I stopped him. Thanks for speaking up for me, but Ethan's right. Childhood engagements really are a thing of the past. So, whatever you and Victoria are doing tonight has nothing to do with me. I wish you both the best. Suddenly, an angry voice came from behind me. Sincere Clark, what nonsense are you spouting now? Ethan's eyes lit up when he saw Victoria. He jogged over and wrapped his arms around her. When he looked back at me, he tilted his head up slightly, his eyes full of provocation. Victoria didn't struggle. She just stared at me. I've really given you too much face, throwing these tantrums again and again. Since you won't admit it, fine. As of today, our engagement is canceled. I puffed out my chest, barely suppressing a smile. Excellent. I hope Miss Bellwether is a woman of her word. Victoria's eyes instantly turned red. She took a deep breath and began to cough violently. Ethan held her tighter with one arm and helped her onto his bike. As he passed me, he tried to deliberately bump into me. You'd better not regret this and come back crying and making a scene. I sidestepped him and walked away without a backward glance. Chapter 5, I felt a sense of relief. After returning home and having dinner, I started studying. There were only 20 days left until the final exams. Late at night, exhausted and ready for bed, I casually scrolled through my social media feed. Victoria, who rarely posted anything, had uncharacteristically shared something. It was a picture of her and Ethan at a banquet. Both were dressed in blue formal wear, their glasses clinking as someone snapped the photo. From the back, they looked like a perfect match. I ignored it, turned off my phone, and went to sleep. The next day, I received a curt message. Victoria, don't overthink it. My family posted that for me. It was a clumsy excuse. I still didn't reply. The next day, when I ran into Victoria in the school hallway, I just sidestepped her. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw her freeze, staring intently at me. Her social media updates became more frequent. Her relationship with Ethan grew closer. Someone couldn't help but ask me, is it true that Ethan and Victoria are getting engaged? I shrugged noncommittally. Probably. They seem like a good match. Others took the opportunity to kick me while I was down. Tisk, Sincere Clark, you served her devotedly and ended up with nothing. Serves you right that she dumped you. I paid them no mind. This continued until the final exams were over. The Bellwethers, worried about their reputation back in their hometown, had me go back alone to formally dissolve the so-called childhood engagement. When Ethan found out, he gloated. See? Old feudal relics should be discarded. This back and forth is so troublesome. But, considering you were pretty good to Victoria before, I can invite you to our engagement party. I nodded and said okay. Then, I took the token of engagement from the Bellwethers, along with my families, and set off on the journey back to our hometown. Although our hometown was remote, it was a large extended family. Dissolving the engagement caused quite a stir. I patiently explained to them that this was a new era, that childhood engagements were no longer binding, and that we, the new generation, should be free to choose our own partners. Both families sighed, but in the end, it was resolved peacefully. While waiting for the exam results, I stayed at home. I hadn't been a very good son to my parents in my past life, so I had to make it up to them this time. But Victoria and Ethan, who were supposed to be getting engaged, showed no signs of doing so. One day, while out shopping for groceries, I ran into Victoria. She strode over to me and grabbed my hand tightly. The exams are over. Why won't you even try to make up with me? We have a childhood engagement. Do you think you can escape the truth just by hiding from me? I was a bit confused. Did Victoria not know that her family had asked me to annul the engagement? I didn't explain, only said, you and Ethan seem to be getting along well. He even invited me to your engagement party. Victoria's eyes immediately reddened as she stared at me. Why didn't you even think about trying to win me back? I don't want to be engaged to him. I don't want to be with him. What I said that day about canceling the engagement was just out of anger. Why can't you understand that? Of course, I understood. I was just playing dumb. Chapter 6. I had seen what you were like when you were truly in love with someone. In our past life, you loved Ethan so deeply. If he casually mentioned that a certain limited edition tie clip was nice, you would remember it and find a way to buy it for him. As for my birthday, even if I told you on the day which restaurant I had booked for a celebration, you would forget, and afterward, there would only be a brief apology. I didn't answer her. Ethan matches you in both looks and status. He can even help your family's business in the future. What more could you be dissatisfied with? Victoria grew more aggrieved. But I don't like him. I was originally going to accept it as a business alliance, but I found I can't do it. The person I love is still you. Why don't you have a shred of jealousy anymore? How can you be so calm? Because I don't want to love you anymore. Without you holding me back in this life, I have a much wider world to explore. I've discovered that your love is too light to make me give up everything. Victoria continued, we agreed to go to college in New York together. You can't abandon me. I won't say things in anger anymore. I looked at the tears welling in her eyes, reached out to gently wipe them away, and said softly, okay. A smile spread across Victoria's lips, and she hugged me. A car screeched to a halt beside us. I saw Ethan get out of the back seat holding a woman's coat, looking at us. Vic? Victoria, in my arms, stiffened for a moment, then quickly pulled away from me. What are you doing here? Ethan smiled and walked over, draping the coat over his shoulders. I saw you leave in such a hurry. I was worried you'd get cold, so I followed your tracks. He was poised and graceful, effortlessly putting distance between Victoria and me. Watching him, I couldn't help but marvel at his brilliant methods. No wonder Victoria would fall for him. After all, even when he was jealous, he handled his rival with such smooth composure. Not like me, who only knew how to throw unreasonable fits. And through the gap I saw Victoria smile at him, with no trace of disgust in her eyes. I knew. This was how she slowly fell for him. Before the exam results came out, Victoria often came to find me. My home was far from hers, but no matter the weather, I could always see her waiting downstairs for me at 10 o'clock every day. If I went down, she would shove snacks into my arms and then take me out to eat and have fun. Her temper improved, and she wasn't as cold to me as before. But every time, just as she was about to hug me at the end of the day, Ethan would appear. He would say he was just there to take Victoria home. I had no reason to refuse and would let go. Only Victoria would look reluctant, but she never said a harsh word to Ethan. This happened so often that even my mother couldn't help but ask, why does Victoria keep coming to see you? Do you want me to send her away for you? I shook my head and declined. We're just hanging out as friends. After all, Victoria was wavering, and I was happy to reap some benefits. It was a good deal. But the next day, Victoria didn't show up. I saw on Ethan's social media feed that the two of them had gone on a trip out of town, alone. Victoria explained to me, it was supposed to be a trip for both our families, but our parents ended up not coming. I just said, have a great time. A few days later, when they returned, Victoria didn't come because she was sick, but Ethan did. He was smug when he saw me. So what if she comes to see you every day? With our parents on my side, it'll never work out between you two. I advise you to give up now. Don't even think about going to New York with her. It'll be useless even if you do. I said directly, I'm not going to New York so you can relax. Ethan was surprised. For real? I nodded, speaking each word carefully. I can tell you seriously, I will not go to college in New York, nor will I be with her. Victoria is the type of person who clings to you the more you push her away. Instead of constantly avoiding her, I might as well just play along. Besides, you know that too, don't you? Otherwise, how could she still not know that the childhood engagement was canceled? Ethan was speechless, his mouth open, unable to argue. I continued, then let's just keep this a secret until the day I leave for college. Ethan snorted, his face full of disbelief. You'd better be telling the truth. Otherwise, I won't let you off the hook. Chapter 7. Soon, the results were out. I saw that my score was well above the previous year's admission cutoff for Southern State Teachers College, and breathed a huge sigh of relief. Even my parents hugged me, cheering, "Son, I knew you could do it." My homeroom teacher quickly sent a message telling me to come back to school to fill out my college application choices. As soon as I went downstairs, I saw Victoria leaning against a car, with Ethan standing beside her. She saw me and quickly waved for me to get in. After I got in the car, she couldn't stop talking. She seemed incredibly excited, chattering on about life in New York. It was clear she was very pleased with her own results. All of this was witnessed by Ethan, sitting in the passenger seat. I happened to glance over and saw the deep, blatant jealousy in his eyes. When we arrived at the school, he walked up to me and warned, "Remember what you said, his worry was unnecessary." Behind Victoria's back, I quickly filled out my application. When she leaned over to see, I had already finished and closed the page. Afraid she would pester me, I quickly explained. My hand slipped. She didn't suspect a thing, but Ethan, standing nearby, had seen everything clearly. I noticed a subtle, almost imperceptible sigh of relief from him. Now, all that was left was to wait for the acceptance letter. The night I received my acceptance letter, I set off for Southern State Teachers College. No one knew except my parents. My parents told me that Victoria had waited downstairs for 2 days. When I didn't appear, she went door to door until she found our apartment. My parents told her I had left for college, but Victoria refused to believe I would leave her behind. She cried and begged my parents to tell her where I had gone. Fortunately, they didn't say a word. In the end, it was Ethan who took her away. The South was different from the inland regions. When I first arrived, I had trouble adjusting, constantly suffering from a sore throat. Before the semester started, I worked part-time and traveled, exploring the mountains and waters. As time went on, I adapted to everything here. By the time school started, I was able to easily connect with classmates and teachers. 3 years of college flew by. When it came to our senior year internship, while everyone else chose secure teaching positions in big cities, I unhesitatingly chose to volunteer as a teacher in a remote area in the Northwest. Having been reborn, fame and fortune were no longer important to me. I hoped to help more children escape the mountains and find a better future. Chapter 8. The journey to the Northwest was fraught with difficulties. I just never expected Victoria to be among the volunteers. A rich young lady like her was actually willing to come to the mountains to volunteer. We were all staying in the same village accommodations, and Ethan was there, helping her unload her luggage, piece by piece. When Ethan saw me, he froze. "Sincere Clark, what are you doing here?" Hearing this, Victoria immediately poked her head out. "Sincere?" Confirming it was me, she jumped out of the car and ran towards me. I took a large step backward. "Miss Bellwether, please have some self-respect." Seeing her lunge had met empty air, Victoria's eyes turned crimson. "It's been 4 whole years. I couldn't find you anywhere. Do you have any idea how much I've missed you?" I looked past her to the man standing behind her. "Your fiancé is still here." At the mention of his name, a flicker of embarrassment crossed Ethan's face. Victoria's expression instantly turned cold. I didn't want to know about their drama. I turned to leave. Victoria realized what I was doing and tried to chase after me, but she stumbled and fell. "Sincere, you can't just leave like this. At least give me a chance to explain." Victoria's voice was so loud that it attracted the attention of everyone passing by. Not wanting to cause a scene, I simply said, "We'll talk later at dinner." At dinner time, I found a quiet spot to eat. She and I sat facing each other. For a moment, there was only silence. I looked at her carefully. It was clear her complexion was much worse than before, but she had cut off the long hair she used to cherish, and her skin now had a healthy tan. I waited quietly for her to speak. Victoria wrung her hands after a long pause. She finally asked, "Where did you go to college all these years? After you disappeared, I went to your house and waited for your parents for a long time, but they would never tell me. I had no other choice but to search for you, one place at a time. This country is too big, I could never find you." Why did neither of you tell me the childhood engagement was canceled? Why wouldn't you tell me you didn't want to go to New York with me? It wouldn't have mattered if you didn't go. I could have followed you." Victoria had a barrage of questions. As she spoke, she grew more and more aggrieved. Her lips pressed tightly together as she looked at me. I told her I went to the South to study teaching. In those 4 years, I traveled across our beautiful country, earned good grades in school, and came here simply to give back. These past few years, I've been doing very well without you." In an instant, tears streamed down Victoria's face. "In all those 4 years, did you ever think of me?" I answered swiftly, "No. In my past life, after I dropped out of high school, my entire world revolved around Victoria. Later, when we had children, it revolved around her and them. I was oblivious to how the world outside was changing. Meanwhile, Victoria soared higher and higher, eventually becoming a leading figure in her medical field. The final truth was this: a person who depends on others will never be respected by their family, no matter what they do. Unlike this life, where even though I haven't achieved much, at least people respectfully call me Mr. Clark." Victoria cried. Her sobs grew louder. She cried until she was choking on her own tears. She said her biggest regret was not holding on to me tightly every time she saw me, allowing me to fly away for 4 years until I no longer loved her. With those words, it was clear she still didn't see me as a person 4 years, and she still hadn't learned to respect others. My face grew cold. I didn't want to hear anymore. Victoria stood up to block my path, her expression serious. "No matter what you think, I will pursue you until you see how serious I am. It doesn't matter if you don't love me. As long as I love you, that's enough. Suit yourself." I sidestepped her and left. Chapter 9. I returned to my dorm to prepare my lessons. These children were so far behind. Even the so-called 6th graders had a very weak foundation, worse than 1st graders in the city. Late at night, I lit a candle and continued to work. Feeling increasingly hot, I looked up to see raging flames at my doorway. I shot up and yelled fire. I immediately tried to open the window and break down the door, but they were sealed shut. This was clearly deliberate. I could only pound on the door, hoping someone nearby would hear me. Help no one heard. This dormitory had virtually no soundproofing. How could no one hear me? As the fire spread, I took a deep breath and decided to break down the door. Bang, the door was blocked from the outside. Just as I was losing hope, I heard Victoria's voice from a distance. Sincere, the words had barely faded when I heard the sound of many footsteps. Everyone was yelling for me to hold on. After I was rescued, Victoria grabbed me and rushed me to her room. I don't know if it was because I was dizzy from being trapped for so long, or if she had genuinely gotten stronger. For a moment, I couldn't break free. Victoria checked me from head to toe, only letting out a sigh of relief when she confirmed I was truly unharmed. The incident alerted the village chief. In just one day, they found the culprit. I never expected it to be Ethan. For attempted murder, he was temporarily tied up, with people assigned to guard him through the night. After a few days, he would be sent to the town. I went to see him specifically. He had not fared well these past few days. The once dapper man was now a disheveled mess. I couldn't imagine why he would want to harm me. When he saw me, he struggled ceaselessly, whimpering through the gag in his mouth. "Why didn't you die? Why did you have to appear in front of Victoria again?" Ethan pulled the gag from his mouth. He suddenly calmed down. He told me what had happened over the past 4 years. After Victoria found out I was gone, she spent all her time outside of school looking for me. She searched every city in the north. During the summer breaks, she would wait at my old house. She even bribed many people, telling them to contact her if they ever saw me. In her search for me, she had become much tanner. As for Ethan, Victoria grew colder and colder toward him. Ethan had never been treated with such indifference. After all, in high school, even I had noticed Victoria's preference for him. For 4 years, Ethan tried to emulate my past self, taking care of Victoria. He rented the room next to her off-campus apartment just so he could ensure she lived a healthier life. But Victoria would always take what he offered with cold indifference, refusing to speak to him otherwise. I couldn't help but laugh. Ethan's present was my past. Ethan continued his story, oblivious. In their second year of university, Victoria, missing me terribly, got drunk at home. He gave in to a moment of weakness. When Victoria woke up, she slapped him across the face. When their families found out, they forced them to get married. Victoria refused, insisting she would wait for me. But the Bellwethers, believing things had already gone this far, thought it was better to get married first. If they had a child, it would legitimize the situation. Finally, after a week of despair, Victoria agreed. And Ethan, for Victoria's sake, did more and more. He gradually became the man I had been in my past life, and so a match made in misery was formed. Chapter 10. I was speechless. Victoria and Ethan were married, but it was also within my expectations. I asked, "Then why did you still want to kill me?" Ethan became even more agitated. "It's all because you showed up. Why did you have to come here to teach? Victoria was finally starting to accept me, and then you ruined everything. I hate you. I don't understand. What do I lack compared to you? In terms of family background, looks, how am I inferior, but she just loves you?" I listened to his endless roars of frustration. Finally, he was exhausted, panting heavily. I said flatly, "Because you only revolved around her. You lost yourself. A person without a self will never be cherished, no matter where they go." The next day, Ethan was taken by the villagers to the police station and jailed. Because of this incident, his university revoked his degree and blacklisted him for life. Victoria also said she wanted a divorce. Then, an infectious disease broke out among the village children, and she became incredibly busy. She was so busy she didn't even have time to come find me. We were like strangers who had once known each other. But when she was utterly exhausted, she would sometimes come to my doorway in the middle of the night to sleep, as if seeking some solace. I could only pretend not to know. Because the medical facilities here were so poor, it took 3 months for the outbreak to be brought under control. It was a good arrangement. She was responsible for saving lives, and I was responsible for teaching. When it came to our duty to the country and its people, we had both done our part. But I never expected that she would be struck in the head by a parent leading a mob. What's saving lives? I think you're a murderer. A group of people, filled with righteous anger, screamed for Victoria to pay for their child's life. I rushed forward to save her. But they were in a frenzy, striking out blindly. "Mr. Clark, if you protect her like this, don't blame us for not being polite, that's right. For all we know, there are a pair of adulterers. Blows from sticks rained down on Victoria and me. I don't know how long it lasted, but eventually a few people pulled me up. I shook my head, signaling I was okay. When I looked back at Victoria, she had fallen into a coma. Someone told me that a child Victoria had saved had suddenly started vomiting, had a high fever, and was dizzy after returning home. Somehow, the child had passed away. The parents immediately decided that Victoria had killed their child. But that wasn't true. They hadn't followed the doctor's orders, and the child had eaten something they shouldn't have, which led to their death. I was stunned. Victoria was sent to the town hospital overnight, but she had been beaten too severely, and combined with her innate frailty, she had fallen into a deep coma. The only option was to send her back to New York immediately. I accompanied her back to the hospital there. When the Bellwethers arrived, they cried until they fainted. They didn't seem to recognize me, only nodding their thanks repeatedly. I didn't tell them my name. Finally, while they were away paying the fees, Victoria woke up, her eyes fluttering open. She grasped my hand and said slowly, "Even though I was in a coma, I could hear everything. Thank you." I just said that I had done what I had to do. When her parents returned, I quickly left. Later, I heard that she didn't make it and passed away quietly, and I am still a volunteer teacher. Hearing this news, all I have is a sigh. Let it all go with the wind.